is a whole box of pictures from my childhood.
For Dante Molioli, this box is a time capsule, transporting a son to the moments with his father he holds most sacred.
I remember being a kid and saying, Santa, you smell so much like my dad. You have the same exact shoes as my dad. I'm like, I don't know how it's possible, but you do. And I could literally this day, hear his voice laughing and crying at the same time because he recognized that I knew it was him finally for the first time.
Dante says Joseph Molioli was often looking for a laugh.
Awesome. Say hi, Dante.
Hi, Dante. Your name is Molioli, Dante.
And always put his family first.
My father definitely did as much as he could to make me have a good life when I was a child.
Which is why years later, as his father aged, Dante says he and his siblings wanted to make sure that he was well cared for.
When and why did you decide Andover was the place for your dad?
My brother is down near Andover. The Andover place was supposed to be kind of temporary until we were able to get him somewhere else, and obviously that didn't work out in due time.
It's a choice that now haunts him, as it may be haunting thousands of families across the country. Those left grieving in the wake of one of COVID-19's earliest and most vicious legacies. The death of at least 36,000 nursing home residents, 27% of the total COVID-19 deaths in the country. And Joseph Molioli was one of them.
Now to the staggering toll at the nation's nursing homes and assisted living facilities.
The outbreak is taking a toll on nursing homes.
As the country continues to grapple with the virus in an uneasy period of reopening, experts fear some nursing homes may still be particularly vulnerable.
Nursing homes were sort of set up to fail from decades of neglect.
Amidst the uncertainty, some facilities are emerging as cautionary tales, including the one Joseph was at, Andover Subacute and Rehabilitation Centers 1 and 2 in New Jersey, where 80 residents and 2 employees have died from COVID-19. A tragedy now raising questions on how well the facility was planning and prepared for an outbreak.
When bodies are piling up, there's something wrong.
And whether more oversight and action was needed by the state of New Jersey.
I don't feel that anybody's paying attention to any of these nursing homes, and this exact same thing could happen again.
With families now demanding answers.
Not one person in my family was told that there was a COVID positive cases in that facility.
It baffles me how so many people die at the hands of a place like Andover, and they're still open and there's still people there living there.
In some ways, the saga at Andover may have begun long before COVID entered its halls. The facility, consisting of 2 buildings, is the largest long-term care facility in New Jersey.
The common perception has been for years that it's never been a great facility. It's always been loaded with problems.
Jennifer Jean Miller covered Andover as reporter for the New Jersey Herald.
They already had citations, and they just really started to snowball as the pandemic got worse.
What was your sense of the place?
Once we were able to go down there and see him, it was beyond questionable, if you will.
Just a month before the virus swept through the facility, a routine inspection by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the federal agency that oversees nursing home facilities, found several cases of substandard infection control practices at the facility, including cases where facility staff failed to wash their hands to prevent infection and use required personal protective equipment.
The breakdowns in protocol, top to bottom, is what caused the spread.
Daniel Marchese is representing multiple families, including Dante Molioli's, 2 lawsuits against the facility and its owners, which allege they did not have adequate infection control and staffing in place and did not do enough to protect the residents during the pandemic.
They should have had these protocols in place, so they only have themselves to blame.
Marchese points to a recent audit by federal inspectors showing breakdowns in protocol when the virus first entered Andover in March. And he says this may have allowed the virus to sweep through at an alarming rate.
They didn't protect the patients. The facilities had COVID patients in with other non-COVID patients. The employees weren't wearing protective equipment in the rooms with COVID patients and then went to rooms with the patients without COVID.
I can speak for staff members that I have gotten to know through my reporting, and they're very caring people.
Miller says as more residents and staff contracted COVID, the lack of protective equipment exacerbated the outbreak, and more workers started calling out sick.
There aren't enough of them, really, to take care of the needs of the residents.
By Easter weekend, the outbreak had spiraled, and more residents were dying, forcing the staff to put out a call for help.
I remember Saturday mid-afternoon getting a phone call that they needed 20 body bags.
Sheriff Michael Strada was one of the local officials who responded to the call.
Some individuals were being placed outside because there was no room in the facility to keep the bodies.
As news of the body count spread, some say there was a lack of communication with families on the outside.
We have not heard from her.
Francesca Veen says she became sick with worry about her grandmother when she heard the news about the deaths at the facility.
I wanted to know. Anybody would want to know. Is she one of those bodies?
What she was.
Veen says desperation stemming from numerous unanswered calls drove her to post this video on social media in April that went viral.
You have ignored us multiple times.
I just wanted to bring awareness of what was going on over there and how angry and sad I was.
The deaths that weekend would put the facility under the national spotlight.
New Jerseyans living in our long-term care facilities deserve to be cared for with respect, compassion, and dignity.
Leaving many wondering how things could have escalated so quickly.
These two facilities are licensed by the state of New Jersey. So the county was forwarding the complaints to the state, which also were being unanswered.
Over the course of the outbreak at Andover, county officials say they reached out to state officials more than 30 times to request help. And in a letter to the state, they wrote they were, quote, deeply concerned that the state of New Jersey is not doing enough to address this ongoing health crisis.
When the crisis hits, go in, make a decision, see what's got to be done, and do it. Don't sit around being a bureaucrat and saying, okay, well, now we got to follow this procedure.
Michael Lensack is the mayor of Andover Township. He believes the state of New Jersey should have acted sooner.
I do think the state dropped the ball in a huge way. They were directing the hospitals to not keep the patients there, to bring them back to the nursing home, thus bringing back possible COVIDs and putting them back into the most vulnerable people that we have in our town.
During this pandemic, states have really been responsible for trying to assist nursing homes to respond to the spread of the infection.
Since the start of the pandemic, Sheriff Michael Strada's team has provided local nursing homes with protective equipment. Strada says in the beginning, most of the donations were from local residents.
We really didn't get much help from the state until it started really getting out of control and the media started getting involved.
After the grim discovery at Andover subacute made headlines, county officials requested that the state activate the National Guard to help the facility with operations, which the state did in May.
We would hope that, the state of New Jersey would go in, the health department, and monitor and see that procedures are put in place so there is proper PPE, that individuals get the treatment that they need.
Now, 4 months into the pandemic, Strada says his team is finally receiving the adequate PPE that they need to distribute.
You're talking about thousands of masks, thousands of shields. Most of the stuff is going to the long-term care facilities that have been impacted the most, which is Andover mainly.
The New Jersey State Department of Health told ABC News, in addition to providing directives to nursing home facilities, once the outbreak was reported to them, they started monitoring Andover, responding to complaints, and provided PPE and staffing support as needed. But for families like the Moliolis, it was too little, too late. Joseph passed away April 9th. Dante believes his father may have been one of the bodies discovered in the morgue.
What do you think he was thinking in the end?
Unfortunately, I think he was a bit scared, or more than a bit scared.
Has anyone from Andover contacted you or your family, offered their condolences?
Never. No one has called. No.
The Andover facility denied all allegations contained in the lawsuit and told ABC News their staff worked around the clock and took steps to prepare and handle the crisis, including separating sick patients and following CDC guidelines. They say they reached out to government agencies for help dozens of times, adding they've made significant progress since the height of the pandemic, taking extra steps to ensure patients and staff safety, and have not had a single COVID symptomatic resident since May 12th. Both Andover buildings remain fully operational and are now, along with several other nursing homes, part of a statewide investigation by the Attorney General. The families are left with their regrets and grief as they prepare for a long legal fight.
What do you wish you had a chance to say to your dad?
Probably a lot of things, you know. A lot of things I wish I could do over. I wish I literally could have taken him out myself. Man, if I only knew, things definitely would have been different.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.